Jakob Hagland, editor-in-chief of Riks Europe from Stockholm. So welcome to our program. And please tell us about the recent arrest of a person connected to the murder of the Polish man that happened in April.
Swedish police have arrested a 18-year-old Iraqi migrant, and he's the primary suspect now of the brutal murder of the 39-year-old Mikhail that was murdered in front of his 12-year-old son in one of the suburbs of Stockholm.
Right. What was the role of this arrested person in the murder?
He's the primary charge for committing the murder, shooting Mikhail in front of his 12-year-old son. And he was a migrant that arrived to Sweden in 2007 by the liberal government then. They opened him with open arms, and he has committed a lot of previous crimes in Sweden before this. So he's going to be officially charged now for the brutal murder of Mikhail.
He basically came to Sweden as a child, grew up in your country, and turned violent in Sweden, which is strange.
Yeah, he has a long history of criminal and violent behavior in Sweden, and he committed this murder when he was only 17 years old. 1 month later, he turned 18 years old. So he's quite a young criminal committing such a brutal crime.
Right. Thus, it changes his situation in front of the Swedish law if he committed the murder before he turned 18.
Previously, we had a liberal and a social democratic government. Before that, they would probably let him go free after a couple of years in a children's re-education prison. But the new conservative government has opened up for the opportunity to give murderers, without any exceptions to their age, life imprisonment. And of course, the Swedish public is going to demand that this murderer, this horrible murderer, the Swedish public is going to demand that he gets life in prison. Nothing else would soothe the anger that Swedish people feel about this horrible murder.
What can we say about the police investigation? How large was the hunt or pursuit of the murderers?
I would say the police have put a high priority on trying to solve this murder because it was an outrage by the Swedish populace from having criminal gangs commit such an atrocious crime. So they have spent a lot of time, and they managed to capture some of his co-conspirators that have helped him committing this horrible murder. But a lot of Swedes are now very relieved that the police has finally been able to capture this murderer. It has taken quite some time, but people are happy with the work that the Swedish police has committed to this.
Right, but now he awaits a trial. And what is the time scope of from the capturing to the trial to possible imprisonment of this individual?
It could still take some time. This horrible murder was committed in April, and they caught him now. We will see. It might take a couple of months before he's actually put in front of a trial. It all depends on how clear the police have the picture on how they can be able to charge him with this murder. So it might take some time, but hopefully he will be in prison, serving a lifetime imprisonment as soon as possible.
You are reporting to us the outrage of the Swedish people, absolutely understandable. Are there attempts to excuse him that, I'm trying to revoke to the situation we see in America, that people underprivileged, so to speak, while committing the crimes most horrible, are being excused because they are from the migrant background, they have a different religion, and so on and so on. Is anything like that?
We haven't really seen anything like that yet, but we can notice that liberal and socialist politicians don't really want to talk about the violent crime outburst in Sweden. They want to talk about different subjects. They try to smear the largest conservative party in Sweden instead of talking about the migrant crime and the migrant criminals they actually imported into Sweden. So that's where the discussion is at the moment in the Swedish political debate. They are trying to change focus into other stuff, trying to make scandalous assumptions about other policies and other stuff that the conservative parties are doing, instead of talking about the issues that Sweden has let in a lot of violent criminals from the Middle East into Sweden.
Or let them grow within the country. Because
Yeah.
I can imagine that people notice that this particular person has the aggressive personality and should be dealt with, but apparently failed. Jakob Hagland, Riks Europe, thank you very much for this brief conversation. We will definitely follow the story.
Thank you very much, Alexander.